All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Monday, February 17th of 2025. And looking ahead here, we have, we're still on break here for basically NHL regular season and the NBA All-Star break here. Hope you guys have been enjoying a little bit of a, mid-season break here. We do have esports and tennis action going on, most of that taking place overnight here. So hope you guys are doing well. If you guys are dipping into those streets, I saw a lot of SaberSim usernames doing pretty good in Daytona this weekend. So that was awesome to see. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there's a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. So can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days. Get your questions answered. All right, a little bit of a slower week here. We have one question to get us started off. So why don't we start there? And then we will see where we go. All right, first question. PGA can be the most hands-on sport, course fit, history, recent form, shots gained data, does drastically reducing the field and reprojecting the remaining players weaken the sims that we get? I would say no in a nutshell. So I always say that player pool curation is totally okay. If you want to limit the players based on projection, ownership, value, salary, whatever you end up wanting to do, I think that's fine. The most important thing, in my opinion, is always not wasting lineups in your pool, right? I talk about this where it's like, 5,000 lineups is cool, right? However many lineups your plan allows, but it's still only a subset of all, available lineups and all, positive EV, viable lineups that you can play, right? So what you want to do is you basically don't want to waste any, so you want to have a pool of 5,000 lineups that all look like viable to you, right? You want them to be something you're willing to play. And if that requires you to, limit your player pool and X players out, then so be it, right? Whatever you do, try and get as many lineups in your pool that you want to play as possible. So that's the first part. And then the second part about reprojecting the remaining players, right? So like, let's say, we go to golf, right? We'll go to last week. I think it was the 13th. All right, PGA Tour. So, we'll go take any golfer, right? We take Rory McIlroy. Excuse me. And then we see his range of outcomes, right? It's like all these are here on the left are like times that he misses the cut, right? Like we see his make cut percent is like 92. Well, like, these are probably, the 7.5% of sims that he doesn't make the cut, right? So that's what this is describing over here. And then all of these other, graph or bars on the graph, right, are describing his other range of outcomes in the sims. So what happens here, right? Like, let's say you're reprojecting players. You move him from, we'll round up to 78 to 83, right? What we do is we take this graph, we maintain the shape, and then we just shift it over to where the new mean is now your mean, right? So what ends up happening is you get the SaberSim range of outcomes, and then you get your projections on top of them. So you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds, right? The sim data for how like the player frequencies, and then the mean that you think that they're going to come in at, right? So that's what happens when you reproject players. I think both of those things are fine. I think it's totally okay to take like a handicapping approach and be super, in tune with what players. All right. That was our only question to get started today. So what I was thinking we could do is a tennis demo, right? So I know there's no tennis projections for tomorrow morning yet, but we do have the ones from the game, from the slate that locked earlier today. So So tennis is kind of interesting, right? And the reason it's interesting, in my opinion, is because, tennis can vary like significantly with how many matches are within a tournament, right? And typically, the bigger tournaments will like start off with more matches and then kind of shrink down, right? So you always got to be aware of like how many matches there are. It looks like all these ones recently, somewhere between, I've seen as low as 8, I've seen as high as 17, right? See 8, 9, 12, 13, 15, 14, 17, just like scrolling back here. So it's always going to depend, right? So the reason that matters is because of duplication. Okay, so you always want to be aware of how many matches there are, because then that's going to have an impact on how likely your lineups are to be duplicated, right? If we go back to like a month ago, I think it's Australian Open, some of the slates have 30 matches, right? Okay, your player pool is 60 tennis players, right? That's huge, right? But then, as the tournament goes on, right? As the tournament, people start to get eliminated. Well, hey, now it's the field's down to 16, now the field is down to 8, right? Or like, I'm just talking like matches, right? So like 30 matches, 16 matches, 8 matches, your strategy should basically, I would say alter, you should be aware when you're playing a 30 fight tennis, slate, as opposed to an 8. I said fight. I think I'm talking MMA. 30 match tennis slate as opposed to like an 8 match tennis slate, right? Like those are going to be, you want to approach those differently, right? So that's the first and most important thing you got to be aware of, in my opinion, when playing tennis. Here this morning we had a 12 match tennis slate here, and that gives you like 24-ish players, right? And then if you think about something like MMA is kind of always like 10 to 13, 14 fights, maybe 14. 10 to 13 fights sounds like pretty normal. Duplication's important there, right? So I would definitely be dupe conscious building lineups for a 12 match tennis slate, right? So okay, come in, mostly trusting SaberSim projections, making just 2 small adjustments. I'm going to stop this. I would probably lower minimum. I don't know what a good number is. It's 47.5. I'm going to go down to 45,000. Just open up that band slightly, right? And it's because I'm trying to be aware of duplication, right? If this was, the 30 match slate, I might leave it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not so worried about it. But here I kind of want to play lineups with a little bit lower salary sometimes, just to get a little bit different with my constructions, right? So something to be aware of there. Let's see. Build ran. Going to move some columns around. All right. So now it's a good time to run a contest sim if I have one, right? So I'm going to go create a contest sim. Say I'm playing the $1.20 max here. Good contest. A hard refresh. Which I thought I did. There we go. All right, run contest sim is green. I'm going to click that. Starting by exposures here. Got my pool, my leverage, my exposure, projections, ownership, value, all this available to me. Looks good. I'm going to wait for the sim to run. I got a couple aggregate metrics, projection, salary, geomean, right? I think that these are all good to have on like a 12 match slate. Going to add an ROI one. Going to switch this to my target ROI. And I'm all set, right? So we said $1.20 max. Okay, good. Sorting by contest ROI. Got some aggregate metrics here. Got my exposures. Got my leverages. Now, I kind of want to start doing some stuff, right? So first thing I would probably do is set up an ROI greater than 0 filter. So, okay, show lineups with ROI greater than 0. And I'm going to rename it ROI. Click save. Okay, good. So that takes us from 500 down to like 200-ish lineups, right? This is why we always talk about with Saber Score, trying to stay in the top 25 to 50%, because this is pretty normal to see like 200 to 300 lineups go in the trash here. All right, cool. So we got that one on. I'm going to turn it off real quick so I can do an independent geomean filter, right? So I'm going to say show lineups with geomean less than X, and I'm just going to make up a number. Let's try 30. See what 30 does. 30 actually is good, right? Right in this 10 to 20% range. So the reason we're using the geomean filter, right, is because we're trying to play lineups with lower geometric mean ownership in order to be duplicated less, right? If you guys aren't familiar with that concept, check out this video in our help docs. You go over to help, type in geometric, and we have this video, how to ownership product and ownership geometric mean works. So I'll drop that here in the chat. But now, right, I have this on. The reason I turned the other one off is because I want to know how this filter affects my pool by itself, right? If I have the other one on first, if I have ROI on, I see, okay, 308 lineups in the trash, and then I turn on geomean. Okay, it added another 68 lineups, but that doesn't mean there weren't some that overlapped, right? Like if I turn off ROI, I see that actually 86 lineups were in the trash. So it wasn't 68, it was 86, but some of them were already getting got double counted, right? So it's always good, like when you're doing your filters, to set them up one by one in order to see the independent effect that they have. And then once you have them all set up, then you can go and turn them both on here, right? So what's pretty cool is if I turn geomean off, my average geomean is 30.31 in my top 20. With it on, it comes down to 29.02. So it comes down about, a full point there, which is good, right? Which is impactful here. So that's a nice effect. Now I would say, we have our filters on, we have our metrics. We're basically all ready to, find the 20 lineups that we want to take with us into our contest, right? So we've narrowed our pool down to a smaller pool. I'm going to call this our working pool, which is 124 lineups. Like, okay, from these 124, I want to figure out what 20 I want to take with me into my contest. So then now we could start looking at exposures, looking at leverages. Like, hey, Francisco Comasana, we have, really high leverage here, right? About 3x. Everyone else, Alexandrova is the second highest here, which is like 2x their ownership, not so bad. And then really, really flat, right? We are taking a couple stands here, like a stand against Heidi, a stand against Fabian, right? So like always important to also look at like your negative leverages too. Alcaraz, right? Another like negative 23. So what you could do here, right? One option is try using your min uniques, right? Going from 1 to 2, seeing the impact that it has on your exposures, your leverages, your aggregate metrics here, right? So interesting. Our projection goes up, salary goes up slightly, ROI goes down, right? So that happens. Like we're basically going to play chalkier lineups, and sometimes the lower lineups do a little bit better in the sims. But what impact did that have on our exposures, right? We're still getting to a ton of Comasana, a little bit less of Alexandrova, and we're still pretty under on like Alcaraz. Like I wouldn't say this had like a big impact, right? We could try going one further. Let's try go to 3. Okay, ROI comes down a little bit more. Geomean's getting lower. Projection holds. Salary is like still pretty close. And now this is getting a little bit, I would call this better, right? Comasana comes down to 70%. Leverage is a lot lower. Alexandrova is about neutral now. And then now we're not taking these huge stands in the opposite direction as well, right? Alcaraz is like negative 8% leverage, so a lot closer. We have one negative 16 on Heidi. That's it. But, I actually like 3 here. I think, we're taking one big stand, and then we're pretty flat there otherwise, right? And then we could see, where we're at, right? So we're down to lineup 80 out of 124. Honestly, we probably couldn't even go further if we wanted to. So here, right, I think that I would stop here. I think this is a good stopping point. If you wanted to just make a single change, right? Like, okay, let's just bring Komisana down to like 20% leverage. Fine. Just make that one more adjustment. That's like a totally okay thing to do. But I like this 3 uniques here. It works. It didn't affect our metrics too much. We got way better risk management going on here. And then we obviously have 20 lineups in our 124 that have 3 players different from every other lineup. So 3 uniques. I'd be ready to rock and roll. I would click save, and then I would upload them to my contest. But if you guys are playing some tennis, hope that helps you to dial in your process. Probably people, trying new sports this week and seeing how it goes. So good luck in the tennis streets. All right. We answered the questions in office hours and no questions in YouTube chat. Just knocked out a slate demo. So we're all set here. So appreciate you guys tuning in. A couple more days till NBA returns. NBA will be back with a single showdown on Wednesday. So only one more day, actually. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.